Michigan recruiting is on a heater, and you never walk away from the table when you're on a heater. We've got to talk about the new commitments, the trajectory of this program at the moment. We're going to do that right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday. We are back and doing it, albeit a bit late. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. For those of you watching, for all of you who are our everydayers, we thank you. For those of you who make us our first listen, make us your first listen, rather. We do appreciate that as well. We're not only going, again, single camera, but we are going with a different angle. You might not be able to tell. But nonetheless, that's what we're doing today. Just out of necessity today. Anyway, so we're going to get into the two commitments that Michigan had. For the first segment, we will talk about Zion Robinson. And then we will get into, after that, Marky, Walbridge, and then just the offensive line outlook in general in segment 2 with some other news that it's come out. And then we're going to talk about the grand what is happening at the moment, including the prediction of Calvin Russell by Aiden Sen over at Rivals and all of that. I think it's a very exciting time to be a Michigan fan, and we're going to get into all of it. So right now, huge day for the Wolverines. It's going to get bigger for everything as a whole, as Danny Wolf is likely going to be picked in the NBA draft. That doesn't affect football. But to get a 6'3" guy, right? Like Michigan is looking at 6'4". Actually, I think he might be 6'4". Zion Robinson out of Mansfield, Texas. Michigan is just changing things up. They're changing the paradigm. Now, it's not that they haven't had really good wide receivers over the course of the years, right? Like I've been covering the team when they went and got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who at the time was the number one wide receiver in the country, right? Like it's not completely anathema to this program, even with the similar style of play that it's had to go out and get these guys, but it's never been more necessary. Because one of the things that I have said before, and it bears repeating, is Bryce Underwood needs these guys now, right? Like we can't be looking at Dakota Grant and the 2027 guys, right? Because you don't want to be like, yeah, we're going to get you some guys, but they're going to be freshmen when you're in your junior year, which is probably going to be your last year. In a sense, Michigan really needed to get the wide receivers that it needed this last cycle. Now, granted, transfer portal is a thing, so that's fine. But receivers, as we've seen, yes, sometimes you can get a Jeremiah Smith or a Ryan Williams. I mean, Michigan relied heavily on Tariq Black and then Donovan Peoples-Jones in 2017. But that usually is not a good way to conduct your offense, to be like, especially to have like a young quarterback and a young receiver, that feels like that's asking too much. So with that in mind, the timing is good, because the thing is usually we see those receivers take that step forward in year 2. That's generally when we see those types of things happen. So to get Zion Robinson, who should be, along with Jalen Pyle, along with whoever else they get, to get them in now, to get a 6'4" guy that's fast, because that's the thing. He's not just 6'3", 6'4", he's also fast. And he's a very good kid. He's got his head screwed on his shoulders correctly. I mean, that's exactly the type of guy. He screams like a type of guy that would play for Michigan. So I think that's good. Plus, to be able to get yet more like some of these recruiting wins that they've been getting. I actually can't remember what teams right now offhand, but to get a 4-star that's ranked 71st in the country is the highest ranking he has. I mean, especially considering the offense at the moment is kind of sight unseen, right? Like, is it going to be like this exemplary offense? I mean, we hear it will be. They're hearing it will be. But it's kind of like, trust me, bro. But that's how it always kind of starts. Because if you recall, it was around 2017, 2018. It was around, Donovan Peoples-Jones, actually. When Donovan Peoples-Jones was strongly considering going to Ohio State, everyone was saying, like, why would you go there to block? Because it was a run-first team. And then Ryan Day changed things in Columbus. So it's going to be paramount. Like, I don't think that's going to be like a wholesale change in Ann Arbor, right? Like, I don't think you're going to suddenly see, like, a 5,000 yard passer in Ann Arbor. I mean, maybe it could be Bryce. He's got that talent. He's certainly talented enough to be a 5,000 yard passer. But at the same time, that's just not the ethos that Sherrone Moore has. Still, to be able to get him and still be in a place where they're looking like everyone thinks that Travis Johnson from Oscar Smith in Chesapeake, Virginia is probably going to be on the table there. And now it's starting to kind of feel like Calvin Russell from Miami Northwestern very well could be. So I think that this is a great paradigm shift. And I think that, like, getting a guy like Jalen Pyle, who is, I think, and frankly, having watched a lot of his film, watched a lot of these things, I think he's underrated, but he kind of screams that type of Michigan guy in every way. He's a Michigan man mentality. He's got the talent. He's going to have to overachieve in order to get people to take notice, right? But to get like a little bit more of a ringer in a guy like Zion Robinson, and then hopefully adding to that by bringing in a couple other guys that look like they could be in the fold, I think that is huge news. So like and again, you're seeing the strategy by getting the taller guys, because now you look at bringing in transfer Donovan McCulley, they bring in Jamar Browder. They've got one tall guy. Jacob Washington as well is 6'4". They got now they've got one tall guy in Zion Robinson. Travis Johnson's another one. Calvin Russell's another one. They're changing away from the damage that had been done essentially with the speed and space, because as much as Michigan's been able to do what it has been able to do, it's been to the passing game has been somewhat detrimental, I think, in large part because you are accustomed to seeing the brand of Michigan football being that, yeah, we are going to run the football down your throat, but we're also going to throw downfield with Chad Henne to Braylon Edwards. We're going to throw downfield to David Terrell. We're going to hit Mario Manningham. We're going to be able to get these tall guys that are going to be NFL guys, right? Michigan was long thought of having great quarterback play and great wide receiver play, despite the fact that it was still a run first team in all those years of Lloyd Carr and before that, to be honest. So it's interesting to watch it getting back to that. All right, we're going to talk about Marky Walbridge, offensive line recruiting. Zuri's kind of being weird right now, so I don't know what that's about. We're going to power through. Can we power through, Zuri? I think we can. All right, we're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Perhaps you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews right on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the code LockedOnCollege. You get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rugiet website for full safety information. All right. It was fun just trying to use the mouse on this little table without a mouse pad. It's a lot of fun. For those watching me being awkward, listening, you can't tell how awkward I am, but you can. You absolutely can. You know it's awkward over here. Not to be outdone, Zion Robinson didn't get a whole day to himself, like Titan Davis did 2 days ago. Because Marky Walbridge, the Needham St. Sebastian's four-star interior guy, if you look on 3-star offensive tackle, if you look at 24/7 Sports, picked Michigan over Alabama and Penn State. They're just stacking up wins against Alabama in particular. I think that's that's great news, obviously, for Michigan. And now it's the second offensive lineman. I'm not really sure where Michigan sees him. I'll have to figure that out down the line here. But I think that's huge for Michigan to continue to be able to add to this line, right? Like, because there's just been a lot of questions, like, especially it's like, okay, they've got one receiver, one offensive lineman, no linebacker recruiting. I know a lot of you are freaking out. Like, let's talk about what it looks like at the end, right? Like, I think a lot of you seasoned Michigan fans should understand that by now, especially after last year. But I think that there's a lot to really like about Marky Walbridge and his game, just based off of what I've read. I don't have a very good handle on him, which is why I said we're not going to spend the whole segment just talking about him. But it's a big recruiting win from an area that Michigan's had a lot of successful players from, New England. And the fact that, like, when you see a New England guy that's mostly a 4-star, like, that usually says something, because they tend to go just somewhat under scouted. So that's big news for the Wolverines. But I want to kind of get into the Malachi Lee of it all, who decides on Friday, the Honolulu Kamehameha. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. But he's the 4-star offensive tackle predicted by Steve Wiltfong today to go to Michigan. I mean, like, that's kind of what I was telling you earlier in the week and late last week and stuff like that, because, like, why did I not have that much concern? I mean, granted, we have to wait to see if he A, commits, and B, signs. But the common denominator throughout was the fact that it was Michigan and Texas, Michigan and Alabama, Michigan and Georgia. And he is exactly the type of guy that Michigan needs. Like, you read the scouting report and it talks about how he's a guy that if he does what it looks like he can do, he's going to have a long football career. But Michigan made him a priority all the way throughout. So now all of a sudden, offensive line is starting to kind of, like, you're starting to figure it out, right? So they've got Bear McCorder, who has been awesome as far as, recruiting guys. I think he can be an absolute stud for Michigan in the interior. Now you got another guy who could be interior, exterior. It kind of depends on what you get, I guess, and how you want to develop it. Marky Walbridge, Malachi Lee, if he does commit, then you've got your offensive tackle, and then you look at, like, a John Turntine, who's set to decide here in relatively short order. Now you've got, kind of feels pretty good. Now you would love to add another guy, whether it be a Kelvin Obot, who's probably going to end up at Utah or Oregon. You would love to add a Felix Ojo, who's going to end up at Texas or Ohio State, barring some kind of NIL play, the late Ty Haywood type scenario. But I think that this is a pretty good scenario for the Wolverines. You can see just, again, the trajectory, the path, all of that, and it feels like it's heading in a good spot. Like, just like, I know there's just been people wringing their hands in general about, like, what the state of recruiting, what is this, what is happening, and all of that. So I think that they're, like, you're starting to see the dominoes fall. And it's funny because Marky Walbridge was a guy that it's kind of been on my radar, but, like, hadn't necessarily been, like, because it just felt like he was probably going to end up at one of the other two schools. So that is, it's a big win for Michigan and Sherrone Moore. And I think that it's between last year's haul and then what they already have just in these two guys, and then who we think they're going to bring in. You're starting to see it getting back to what Michigan football used to be. Because here's the thing, as much as, like, we've seen some good offensive line recruiting, it hasn't always quite lived up. And really through the 2 Joe Moore Award winning years and outside of that, we saw kind of the consistency of some of those players, obviously Trevor Keegan and Zach Zinter. So they need to kind of get back to, like, being able to have, like, those guys both played young. So get back to the how it used to be, where most of the guys, like, they basically get to 1 or 2 years of playing and then they're off to the NFL. And it kind of feels like roster wise, they could be getting back to that based off the recruiting. So that's huge. All right. I need to let Zuri out because she clearly needs to go out and she doesn't know how to ask to go outside. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to talk upstage of the recruiting of it all, just the outlook at the moment. We're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, you ever wish managing your money felt easier with Monarch Money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you into the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. The great thing about it is it has got everything like I said, all in one place. You don't have to be juggling a whole bunch of different apps. And also, I never knew how much money I was spending on my food delivery until Monarch Money. And turns out it's a lot. Yet I still did get food delivery today. Anyway, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com to get 50% off your first year. That's LOCKEDONCollege is the code, monarchmoney.com to get 50% off that first year. All right. I'm sitting down. I'm trying not to pause. It just makes everything so much harder when we have to pause things. Especially since we're doing this. It's 10:31 in the PM right now. I don't know if Danny Wolf has been drafted or not. Let's check that together. Yes, that's the kind of thing we're doing at the moment. We're multitasking for everything. He is not off the board. He was mocked to at number 17 by ESPN yesterday. We're on number 21. He's still not off the board. So that's a little disappointing. What's not disappointing is Michigan recruiting in general. We kind of knew that there was going to be three guys. I knew enough about Marky Walbridge. Obviously, Zion Robinson was obvious. And so both of those I had prepared. Let me say this. I do not have another story prepared. And Tace Fawcett from On3 put out that there are four. Sherrone Moore made it clear that there were three, essentially, that we were waiting on. And with his eyeball emojis over the course of the last couple of days here. But, is Markel Dabney, we're just still kind of waiting and seeing if he's going to drop or not, the linebacker from Richmond, Virginia. But I don't really, Malachi Lee, maybe it's Dabney, maybe it's Lee, maybe it's some others. It's hard to really tell because we've kind of gotten into this place where there is certainly some submarine action going on. Talking to some colleagues, like they're kind of in the same spot. Like I'm asking around, they're asking around, and we're not getting answers. So that's interesting in and of itself. And it kind of feels like we're gonna get what I don't necessarily know what's within this week. I think at some point we're gonna see someone that's kind of surprising drop, right? Like we've seen the theatrics from even the Sherrone Moore staff. So I don't think that is out of the question that you're going to necessarily have. Bryce Underwood, granted, we were on this show telling you that Michigan was probably going to get Bryce Underwood while everyone called us crazy. So be it. But Ty Haywood, that wasn't out of the blue. It took a while, but I heard about Ty Haywood before Bryce committed. And then there was just some like Nate Marshall that he was already in the. He was surprised when he committed the first time, and then he's surprised even more when he flipped back from Auburn. I would not be surprised if there's some theatrics at this point, especially with the all caps yes sir double eyeball emojis from Sherrone Moore. I think that they're in a good spot, and here's the thing: is we're not necessarily going to know when some of these guys, maybe we'll get a heads up on a Savion Hyder or a Carter Meadows should they end up pulling the trigger for Michigan. But we might not. It might just be one of those things where just Tace Fawcett drops a graphic and it's just wow, big day. That's sometimes how this types of thing goes. But I was kind of mocking the class of everybody that I think is going to end up in it as of tonight, right? I was on the 24/7 Sports class calculator, and I'd have to look just to double check, but I had it at a 290, which I think is higher than where Michigan was last year. Well, it reset. I had it up and then it reset. Of course it did. Such is life. Whoops. And I clicked on the wrong thing. Also such is life when we're doing the show live. But now granted, USC right now has got a 298, but they also have 30 commits. Michigan's not going to have 30 commits, okay? They're just not going to. But Michigan finished last year with a 290.87, was the number 6 class. That's about, I think it was 290 point something, is like, again, like these weren't stretches, but this is, again, assuming that Michigan does land Savion Hyder, Carter Meadows, and then just like basically the field that we expect them to land at this point. Travis Johnson, and granted, I also had Calvin Russell in that. You know, he was on my best guess list last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever I did one. But like that assumes that, again, they'll land a lot of these guys. And I had, you know, Markel Dabney. I had, I think the only one that feels maybe like a reach at this very moment is Nick Abrams. And I don't know that it necessarily is, even though he went at the Rivals 5-star and said that Michigan's running 4th right now. I just feel like that's just the ebb and flow of recruiting. I still think that Michigan has everything he wants and he'll end up in the class. But like pretty much everybody I put in were the guys who are currently predicted to Michigan for the most part. Dorian Barney, Andre Clark, Donovan Webb, Travis Johnson, Malachi Lee. That's where it ended up, is like a top 10 class. Again, kudos to Sherrone Moore, because there was a point about this time last month that no one thought that. I mean, yeah, I thought it, but, you know, and still, aside of patting myself on the back, I mean, even then it started to kind of look a little bit dicey because you kind of didn't know how the whole class was going to fill out. So I think that's excellent. It's an excellent job for Michigan. And this is, I just want this to continue to be a cautionary tale for a lot of you out there who have played Pollyanna, who are playing Chicken Little constantly. There's a lot of you out there who are still playing Chicken Little, that being like, wake me up when they sign. Like, where's the fun in that? Because then the next step is wake me up when they develop and start rotating. And then wake me up when they start. Wake me up when they start, when they're like, you know, like a star player. Like, just have a little bit of fun with the chase, man. Don't be, that sounded very Tommy Chong. Don't be such a Debbie Downer. Come on. But huge for Michigan. They're sitting at 14 commits, I believe, right now. And I think they're going to add about 13 guys. I had a 27-man class. And it's really amazing how, like, we went from at this time last month kind of being like YOLO to like, I think we have a pretty good idea who's going to end up in the class. Now, that said, they're probably still going to, you know, maybe miss out on some guys that we are pretty sure they're going to get. They're going to end up adding some guys that we're not even talking about. They do every single year, whether it's under the radar guys like a Mason Graham or a Kenneth Grant in 2022, or, you know, a late ad like Lugard Pai or Carmelo English, Darius Clemens, right? Like, they tend to do that type of thing. So don't be surprised if that's the case. But you just got to love the trajectory that Michigan football recruiting is on right now. So they're on a heater, as we've said. And I put that in an article. And I've had multiple texts from some of you. Shout out to Luke DeMello, because he's the one I can remember off the top of my head. But also Michael Wolf. I think both of you said Michigan's on a heater. And you never walk away from the table when you're on a heater. I think I'm going to go watch The Hangover now. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you're watching or listening today on a Wednesday, then that's pretty big, because I don't think this show's going to post until 11:30. So, but you know what? The night owl in me decided to do it late and get my yard work done early. And go to the golf range for the first time in 6 years. Man, that was disgusting. Hopefully we can change some things around. I want to play Coyote Preserve. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.